Hi, third graders. Mrs. Alexander here, and today we're going to be learning an NGSS Science Standard 3-LS1-1. For this standard, the learning goal is to understand the diverse life cycles of different organisms, and that those life cycles all have four things in common. Of those four things are birth, growth, reproduction, and death. So I want you to grab your science journals and be ready to follow along with me and take notes. Okay, so first let's go over some scientific vocabulary words that we're going to be using during this lesson. So first of those is organisms. So organisms are different forms of life, including plants, animals, humans, and other living species. So we are organisms, animals are organisms, and plants are organisms. Next, what's a life cycle? I drew a model of a life cycle right here. As I mentioned, a life cycle starts with birth, and then growth, reproduction, and death. So let's first relate this to our own lives. We are all born, and then we grow, and then when we're adults, we reproduce and become moms and dads, and then it ends in death is the end of the life cycle. Again, every organism has these four components. Okay, so what is diverse? We say that we have all life cycles are extremely diverse. Diverse means that the life cycles of different animals, species, humans are very different. Okay, so that means the life cycle of a human is going to be very different from the life cycle of a plant. So today we're going to be looking at two organisms and we're going to be comparing and contrasting their life cycles. So we're going to be starting with a plant, and that is a tomato. Okay, so I want you to draw this model of a tomato in your science journal. Notice how the birth is represented by a seed that is planted. So a tomato seed is planted. It becomes a young plant. Then it becomes a mature plant. And then it flowers. And then it becomes the fruit, which if not picked and eaten, will eventually rot and decay. Now the average life cycle of a tomato is 6 to 8 months. Okay, and then once a tomato is full grown, you can take the seeds, plant them, and that would represent reproduction. Okay, so now let's look at the life cycle of a different organism. Let's switch to the animal kingdom, and let's look at the life cycle of a chicken. So the life cycle of a chicken starts with an egg. Inside the egg forms an embryo. Then the egg hatches, grows to a chick, into an adult chicken, and then that adult chicken will hatch its own eggs. Okay, and eventually this chicken will die. So the average life cycle of a chicken is about 5 to 10 years. Okay, so now after looking at these two life cycles, I want to compare and contrast. So if we move over, we're going to be looking at this Venn diagram that compares and contrasts two different life cycles. So notice when I draw the two circles, there's a part that connects. This is where we list the similarities of the life cycles. So as we mentioned, every life cycle has four things in common: birth, growth, reproduction, and death. So over here we listed the traits that a chicken has in regards to its life cycle. So chickens hatch from eggs. They're in the animal kingdom, and their life cycle is about 5 to 10 years. Now for a tomato, they start as a seed, which represents birth. They grow as a plant. They turn into a tomato, and their life cycles are about 6 to 8 months long. So notice that the life cycle of a chicken is much longer than the life cycle of a tomato. So how can we relate this to our own lives? Well, humans have life cycles of an average of over 80 years. So that would make our life cycles much longer than the life cycles that we mentioned. So I want you to, in your science journals, I'm going to put up some sentence frames, and I want you to complete these sentence frames based off what we learned today. So the first one says, 4 things every life cycle has in common are. I want you to finish the sentence frame so I can know if you understand or not. The second one says, life cycles are very diverse. Remember, diverse means different. The life cycle of a chicken is different than a tomato because. And I want you to tell me why the life cycle of a chicken is different than a tomato. And remember, we just compare and contrast it over here, so you can refer back to our Venn diagram. Okay, now we're thinking of the differences. So the differences are listed on the outer parts of the circles. Okay, so I want you to take a few moments and I want you to complete this in your science journal. And then I'm going to check so I can see how well you understood this lesson. All right, boys and girls, I hope you learned a lot, and I will see you next time.